What is up, Clicks to Clients group members? I just wanted to reach out to you guys and put this video out because although I do a lot of marketing in this group, I do sales as well. And my insurance career started with sales, and it's been almost entirely sales. And I do a lot of sales training, but we do marketing too. But for today, we're going to give you guys something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's what I was held accountable to when I was a producer, and it's something that I've helped implement into other agencies over the course of my post-insurance sales career. And this is something that has helped create not just profitable producers, but high activity, high producing producers. Now, there are 3 steps to this. You can see it's a very simple, very easy to understand. If you don't understand it, or you've never seen it, or you've never implemented it, then perfect. This training is for you. Okay. There's 3 sets to this. Okay. And I'm gonna make some direct responses to some people who may come in and say that, like, this is not a high producer, or this is not a or my agency writes way more business than this per producer. If that's you, great, good job. You don't need to watch this video. You can come back for some other stuff. But for the majority of agencies who own small businesses, the average agency is under 2 million in premium. The average producer is writing anywhere from like 7 to 15 items a month. If you are not writing over 15 items, if your average producer is writing more than 15 items a month, great. If they're writing over 40, great. This is teaching agents how to get to a minimum of 40 items a month per producer. Okay, and that a large, vast majority. I've trained and coached and worked with hundreds, if not at this point thousands of insurance agents over the last 5 or 6 years. 95% of agencies don't have a 40 item producer. So if you're part of the agencies who have a 40 item producer, or all your producers are over 40 items, good for you. This isn't for you. Now, with that being said, we're going to start with the foundation, okay? The foundation leads to all other forms of success. If you don't do at least the bare basic minimum of the foundation, everything else is not going to happen. So, with that being said, you should be holding your team to a minimum of 100 dials outbound per day. That does not include if you have a telemarketer or a team of telemarketers on your team that spend all day transferring calls to your sales team. That doesn't count, okay? Those are cherry on top. And if your producers are only taking calls from telemarketers that you have on your team that are delivering live transfers, or you're purchasing the live transfers and that's all they work all day, then you're setting your team up for failure and you are burning through cash in your own pockets. Okay, your team needs to have a set expectation that they need to make a minimum of 100 outbound dials per day. Now, with the way that life is right now, where people don't pick up their phones and they don't respond to text now, they never respond to emails, then you might have to up this number a little bit. But for the sake of consistency, 100 minimum dials per day is going to be the minimum threshold and the foundation you need to set for a high producer, a high activity producer, okay? And statistically, we know that roughly 10% of those calls that you make should convert into conversations that lead into quotes for you. Now, that's where the 10 quotes come from. If you make 100 dials, you should have 10 new quotes. If you're making 100 dials and you're talking to 10 people, then you should have 10 quote opportunities. If you have less than 10 quotes, that is a coaching opportunity for your sales manager or for the agent to work with your producer on their talk paths so that they can increase their conversions of new lead outbound to quoted. Okay, very simple. So minimum expectation 100 dials, that should lead to 10 new quotes and permissions to quote, or actual quotes on the spot, right? We want to promote first call closing. If you're not getting first call closing. That's a different topic for a different day that we can talk about. But 100 dials leads to 10 new quotes. 10 new quotes will statistically lead an average sales producer, not a great sales producer, an average sales producer to at least 2 items, which should be just one household. Now, there's typically 20 working days in a month, so you could do the math. If they're doing 100 dials a day and getting 10 quotes and closing 20% of those quotes into 2 items, which is one household, it's really a 10% conversion, right? You're looking at 40 items a month. That's how you get a 40 item producer. Not difficult. It's not difficult concept to grasp. The problem is that most people don't do that 100 dials. And so they never get to those 10 new quotes. And when they never get to the 10 new quotes, they never get to the 2 items a day. Simple, okay? Now, the understanding this pyramid is very, very simple to do. The part where people go wrong is that they don't hold their team accountable to actually doing these numbers. So that's where you, as the agency owner, and your management team, if you have one, need to hold your team accountable. You come into play by holding your team accountable to these metrics. And the way we used to do it is like this, and I think it's still fair to do today. If you have 2 items sold for the day, then it's okay if you don't have 10 new quotes or 100 outbound dials, right? Because you're busy selling. That's okay. But if you don't have 2 items sold each day on any certain day, then you better have 10 quotes. And if you don't have 10 new quotes, then you better have 100 outbound dials. Okay? It's that simple. Because if you don't have 2 items, then you better have 10 quotes. And if you don't have 10 quotes, you better have 100 outbound dials. If you don't have 2 items sold, 10 new quotes, or 100 dials in any given day, then what are you doing all day? Because you're not making phone calls, you're not doing enough quotes, and you're not selling. So what exactly are you doing? Now, I understand some agencies work with they train their LSPs to be agents that are servicing and selling. That's understandable. Track your team, track their metrics, track their activity, make sure they're actually working. But the reality is that most people waste a ton of time sitting at their desks, on their phones, not dialing, talking to other team members, and really just wasting a lot of time throughout the day. So if you have a LSP that their pure job is just to produce outbound sales, okay? And they're not writing 2 items, having 10 quotes, or making 100 outbound dials, you need to train them. You need to be on top of them. You need to hold them accountable. And if they are continuously not hitting any of those 3 metrics, they need to go. They need to go. You need to do better. You need to go start recruiting and start hiring some better talent. So with that being said, if you have any questions on the sales success pyramid, please let me know in the comments. If you use something like this within your agency, I'd love for you to share it in the group. If you have a variation of it, if you've used it in the past, or if you plan on using it. And if you'd like for me to talk to your sales team, absolutely free. I have no problem hopping on a call, one call, and take 15, 30 minutes of my time to meet your team and give them some actionable advice that they can use to get better at sales.